In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the experts, there are few. If your mind is empty, it is always ready for anything. It is open to everything. The author, I'm going to probably butcher this, Shun Ryu Suzuki wrote that in their book. Hi, I'm Karen Seltz. This is Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. I'm really excited tonight to talk about cultivating a beginner's mind. And the reason for that is to have more joy in your life and more expansion. Because what I've found over the years is depression, unhappiness, dissatisfaction with life comes from being in this little tiny box, this box that's round, and not venturing outside of it because we get caught up in our comfort zones because our subconscious mind wants to keep us safe. And, over the years, I've had many experiences with staying safe for a very long time, not doing anything where I might get rejected or that may cause pain of any kind. And then I did some transformational leadership program where we learned how to stretch. And stretching is this mechanism that allows you to get out of your comfort zone in a supportive environment where you're actually held. Everybody's doing it. And you learn that, yeah, it's uncomfortable as hell, but you're not going to die. And the you that comes out the other side of it is different. And the analogy they use is if you take a rubber band out of the package, you look at it, it's whole and it's all the same color usually. But if you stretch it, it never quite goes back to its original size or texture or color. And it's the same with us. When we stretch outside of our comfort zones, we build new neural networks in our brains and we build new habit loops. And we also see that, what we were most afraid of didn't kill us. And usually it's pretty ridiculous when we think about it. Like for many years, I was terrified of picking up the telephone to make a cold call, and I was in sales. So it was costing me so much money. It was costing me my self esteem. I looked really bad because I would have managers come ride with me and I would have very few appointments set up because I just couldn't pick up the phone. I was deathly afraid of it. So we all have these little things that don't make any sense if we try to analyze them. And what I am offering you tonight is just a way of looking at things a little bit differently and perhaps some questions that you could ask yourself so that when you get stuck or you see that you're living a smaller life than you would like, you have some options because we are wired for survival. And to the subconscious mind, survival is anything that didn't kill us before, means it's safe. And that could be like being in an abusive relationship. As long as it didn't kill you, you're safer than you would be if you left it, because that could kill you. So when you start to know those things, you can also give yourself a lot more grace because it's wired that way. It's not that you're stupid, it's your wiring. And we are always at choice. And when we know better, oftentimes we do better. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of my experience. So recently, well, let me back up. So what I do now is I coach and teach coaches and entrepreneurs how to connect to their hearts. And I deal with a lot of people that are extremely smart and analytical. They have a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, and they don't connect to their audience because when they go to do a video, they're thinking about, am I getting the words correctly? Am I going to sound stupid? Are they going to listen to me? Do I have their attention? There's all these things that start to come up and they lose their personalities and they lose, like, you can't tell who they are as a person. Yeah, you can tell their knowledge, but who gives a crap? There's this saying like people only care what you know when they know that you care. So I teach them how to connect to their hearts. and how to drop in and just really trust that they have plenty of wisdom, plenty of knowledge to share, and to trust that the exact right words are going to come out in the exact way with the intention that they meant and the energy that's going to attract the people that are meant for them. Now, not everybody's meant for everybody. Yes, there are a zillion options, especially when it comes to coaches, right? You need somebody that gets your problems, that has a solution, but also gets you. Somebody that you can relate to. They don't have to share your exact philosophy, but you want someone that's going to be able to see you. So I teach people that, like how to integrate their heads and their hearts right here through their voices. And, so basically I teach video, how to show up authentically on video as an authority, and talk about stretching. There is a woman that coaches my business coach on his voice. And she has a podcast called Psychology of the Voice. See, I'm getting nervous just thinking about it. It happens. So I'm like, she put out this request, anybody want to be on my podcast and have their voice analyzed? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I would put my ass on the line. And I was so nervous because, yeah, this is what I do. I want to look like the authority in my space. And she's going to see through any masks that are over my voice. She's going to see through them. But I'm down for that. I'm definitely down for that because I'm always approaching things. Well, not always. I like to think always, but no, that's not the case. I like to approach things with a beginner's mind. There's always somebody who knows more than I do. My business coach, James Wedmore, says this. He says a lot of things that are fantastic. But one of the things he said was, if you're the smartest person in the room, find a different room. And I thought about that. I'm like, oh, I get it. Because then there's nothing for me to learn, right? Like, if I think I'm the smartest person in the room, which, sometimes I do when I'm in my ego mind, then I am completely closed off to anything new. If I am the expert on everything, can anybody teach me anything? Am I curious? Am I open to possibilities? No, absolutely not. So that's what I've been cultivating throughout my lifetime, is this openness, this curiosity. And so on this podcast, she's listening to my voice. We're on Zoom, so she can see me, but you can hear it in my voice. Like all of a sudden there's gripping, like there's like, and it's fascinating. I highly recommend this podcast, Psychology of the Voice. Her name is Tracy Goodwin. Anyway, she's like, did you ever feel like you needed to prove yourself, or like people weren't going to listen to you? I'm like, oh my gosh, I know exactly where that came from. And so she's like, I can tell you've done a lot of work, but it's in your muscle memory. So when I'm trying to prove myself, to prove that I know what I'm talking about, to prove that, I have something of value to share, I am telling people that you must be perfect to work with me. Like you have to reach this standard or you're not going to be good enough for me, which is the exact opposite of who I am as a person and what I want to put out there. Now, prior to her finding that out, one of the first things I said was, I want people to feel like they can tell me anything because I am 100% going to love and accept them no matter what. Now, does that sound like, oh, I have to be up here to work with you? No, it's the exact opposite. So when I became aware of that, I made some shifts internally. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with that information? And one of the things that I've started doing is sitting down when I speak. The other part was I used to stand up because I thought it was more professional, number one. Number two, I was performing. As much as I don't want to admit it, I was performing, and like I was on a stage. I was up on stage and here I am, even though, you only see me here. And what I was telling myself is I'll have more access to my body. I'm very expressive with my hands. But, one of the things that this coach told me is you naturally have high vocal energy. You don't need more. Like, you don't need to stand up to access your fifth gear or whatever. You already are there. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. So what I want to offer you with that story is, number one, I took this stretch and she's like, how you doing? I said, I'm really nervous. And she's like, oh, interesting. And we got to talk about it. But I also, you know, am authentic about it. Like, I'm nervous. And I do a lot of speaking, so I don't generally get very nervous. I just don't. I just trust. I've learned over the years that whatever is meant to come through me will come through, as long as I get out of the way, as long as I don't make it about me, as long as I am true to my intention of contributing, of adding value to someone else's life, it's going to come through. And there's always room. There's always room for more. So I love this concept. I study this book called The Way of Mastery, which is very similar to A Course in Miracles. And there's a concept in there called empty-headedness. And it's nothing to do with being an airhead. Empty-headed means that you don't have an opinion, that you are just completely in the moment and you're taking the information in and you're just sitting with it and it's all neutral. Think about that for a moment. Like, we have this saying, all events are neutral. Think about approaching life that way, what it frees up for you as far as your energy, as far as your resources. Oh my gosh. And last week, I talked about freedom is love under all conditions. Like, you just love unconditionally. And it's the same concept, but it goes a little deeper. If you think all events are neutral until you place a value on them. And if you don't believe that's true, you ask 100 people, or even 10, their opinion on something, some event that occurred, and you will get 10 or 100 different accounts, like every single time. And these are factual accounts, right? I've realized that there are very few facts in life. We are all meaning-making machines, and we all interpret things through our filter based on our past. But what if we could just be present and our interpretation came from the heart or came from our spiritual connection? One of the things that, when I'm being mindful, that I like to say is, like, if a person triggers me or something, I can say, God, spirit, universe, help me to see this person through your eyes. And there are these principles that I really live by, that every single person is doing the very best they can. In The Way of Mastery, they call this innocent. Everyone is innocent. And I love that. I love that there's not some being up in the sky, some Santa Claus God saying, you are wrong, and judging us. No. God sees us all as innocent, doing the very best we can. Now, everything we get to notice, like, okay, does this feel good? Or, does this feel good to have done? Or does this feel out of alignment? And I believe we will know that inherently. Like, when we do something crappy, even if it gives us like a jolt of adrenaline, it feels good that we were right and we won an argument or something, it doesn't feel good for very long. So just notice those feelings. Okay, if you created a situation where it was a win-lose, then that's not going to feel good very long. So just notice that. And how could you have approached it with curiosity? If you're always looking for a win-win, you're going to find it. Intention is so powerful. It is so powerful. So if your intention in any interaction is to leave the relationship better than you found it, in any interaction, whether it's with the cashier at the grocery store, or, I had an interaction with a little girl and her mom at Costco today, and it was lovely. And it was just, I don't know, it was just lovely. So that's my intention everywhere I go, to uplift humanity, to leave the world a better place than I found it, than before I was in the space. And we can do that with our intention. So if your intention is to be open to possibility and curious, how can you do that? Well, let me give you some pointers. If you get stuck in black and white thinking, like it's right or wrong, left or right, up or down, um, know that that's the ego. The ego is very black and white. It's very dual. It's like the duality of the ego. It's light and dark, things like that. Your spirit is infinite. You are infinite. And there are infinite possibilities for everything. So what I do with my clients is when they get stuck in this, like either, they're in an unhappy relationship, either I leave or I stay. Well, okay, what else is possible? Okay, what else is possible? Because we get stuck and we have these blinders on. We think there are only two possibilities, two choices. And it's such a load of crap. And when you start to play with it, I call it inviting spirit in, like, come on, let's play. Okay, what else is possible? You start to lighten up, because the other thing, the ego is very serious. Like, this is serious business, no screwing around. This is life or death. Well, is it really? How long have you been in that relationship? Oh, you've been unhappy for 7 years and you have to decide today whether you're staying or going. I see. Right? Like, it creates this false urgency a lot of times, and we believe it. So just start to play with it. You're like, okay, I see you, ego. What else is possible? I love that question. And I have people come up with a list, like, give me at least 3 to 5 other possibilities for what you could create. And then you're inviting spirit in to come play with you. It's super fun. And you have a beginner's mind. So what if, that's what I want to say about wisdom too. So wisdom, we think that we know better based on past experience. So we're trying to warn people, I wouldn't do that. I did it and this is what happened. Well, that was your experience. What else is possible? What else is possible? What else is possible? There are so many reasons why things work or don't work. I believe, one of the main ones is our intention and our energy behind it. What was it? Did we do it out of fear? Were we in any type of lack energy? Were we gripping? Were we trying to control something? Or were we open-hearted and loving and open to possibility? So, I've been studying manifestation pretty heavily recently. And one of the things is, yes, you set an intention. You're like, this is what I want. And then you let go of the how and when. It's none of your business. You just trust it's coming. It's like your Amazon order. It's another thing James Wedmore says. It's like when you place an order on Amazon, do you look and see, is it coming? Is it coming? No, you're like, it said when it was coming, and you just like trust it's coming then, because it is, right? Almost all the time. So it's just like that. I love this whole topic of a beginner's mind because for so long, I tried to control everything, and I still do it with a lot of things. I catch myself with my daughters a lot, especially the one who's now driving. I'm like, oh gosh, oh no, stop, slow down. I'm a terrible backseat driver. I'm a terrible passenger for a teenager. But I catch myself. So anyways, when you think about having a beginner's mind, what does it mean to you? What does it bring up? Does it feel unsafe to not know, or to think that other people think you don't know? Do you know what I mean? Because this need to prove, I think a lot of us have it, or the need to be right, or the need to not look stupid. I grew up with all of that. It felt very unsafe for me to not know something. So I was very certain before I ever spoke. And I didn't speak a lot. about important things. Yeah, I was screwing around being funny, but but as far as like what do you really believe about this? I was never one to volunteer my opinion until recently, as you know. But think about, what if you didn't have to know? What if you could just trust that the answers will be given to you when you're supposed to know them, as long as you're making time. Now, I'm not going to say just sit and watch TV because you're filling your head with noise. But if you're getting quiet and you're asking, like, okay, show me what to do next. How would you have me see this person? What else is possible? And asking yourself all those questions, then the answers will come. And the wisdom part, it's really fascinating. I was just thinking about this. How much of what I hold myself back from do I say it's because of my experience? It's because I'm being wise. Am I? I don't think so. I think I'm being cautious. And I think I'm being like a fortune teller, like this happened in the past, so I'm bound to repeat it. But what if something else was possible? I want to live in that space where I am creating exactly what I want and not being hampered by what happened in the past. Ah, that sounds amazing. How does it sound to you? Let me know. Please comment and let me know what it is that you've always wanted to do or be or have, and what the stories are that you're telling yourself of why you don't have it or why you're not that yet. Because everything is possible. 100% is possible 100% of the time. So what are you choosing? What are you choosing to be right about? I ask myself that a lot. The answers, they vary. So I would love to know your comments. If you like this video, please share it, and I would be honored if you would subscribe. Thank you so much for watching Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. I'm Karen Seltz. I'll see you next time. Mwah!